Good morning, everyone. Wow. The commanding presence, isn't it? Welcome to Hubbub 2015, the HUBzero conference, or maybe I should say the HUBzero conference. If you're interested in learning about HUBzero, this is the conference to be at. So welcome, and we have a couple of days of really interesting programming. Glad you're all here. A little bit of housekeeping. If you like social media, you can find HUBzero on Facebook. You can also find it on Twitter, but you have to look a little more. It's at HUBzero Platform. And if you want to live tweet today, feel free. You can use the hashtag Hubbub2015 as you're going along. So at this point, everybody pulls out their device and starts live tweeting, right? Fantastic. All right. And if you're trying to connect to the wireless, we have the network Sheraton meeting, and there's a code. If you scroll down, you can use the conference code HUBzero to get on the high-speed wireless. So feel free. So I want to kick things off today with kind of a very presidential State of the Hub address, kind of fill you in on things that have been happening lately with HUBzero. I'm Michael McLennan. I'm the founding director of the HUBzero platform. I used to be at Purdue University up until a couple of weeks ago. I just recently took a new job with a little startup company out in Silicon Valley that you may have heard of. So I just started working for this crazy Google outfit. It's one of these internet startup things. Anyway, I'm super excited about working for them. I'm going to be working in the Google Fiber division. They're doing a new television initiative for Google TV, and I'll be working on the team that's building that service. So, but I'm here today not to talk about Google at all, really just to talk about all the great work that we've been doing for the past year on HUBzero and kind of bring you guys up to speed. In fact, Google really wanted me to make the point that I'm not talking about Google at all today. They have a lot of corporate lawyers, and in fact, they wanted me to make sure that I put up some little warranties of merchantability and fitness and all of that. So there are a few legal buzzwords just to make sure I'm not talking about Google at all. I think if I started to talk about Google after about this point, that somebody's Android phone would pick it up and it would out me. And they have a helicopter team, I think, standing by to extract me if I start talking about Google in any way. So I'm really just here as an ordinary citizen, kind of giving you my perspective as a former director of HUBzero, but moving on from here to talk about HUBzero. In fact, I guess the first order of business is just to kind of introduce the new leadership. So I don't know if you've met Michael Zentner. Michael is in the back. Can you stand up and let everybody see? So this is Michael Zentner. He's the director now of the HUBzero platform. And I'm super happy to have him take over. I've actually worked with him for a few years now on NanoHub and a few other hubs, Catalyze Care. He's been involved with HUBzero for a few years now. So he really knows what it's all about. He also has this great background as an entrepreneur. He's founded several IT startups. He's consulted with Fortune 500 companies. He's even the entrepreneur in residence at Purdue University. So he has this really great business background that I really don't have. I think it'll be valuable for HUBzero going forward to make it into more of a real business enterprise instead of just a little hacky software startup that kind of it was when we got started with all of this many years ago. So super glad to have Michael here as the new director, and I hope you guys hope you take some time over the next couple of days to actually talk with him, maybe about what you're doing and kind of about the future of HUBzero. I think he'd like that. Also want to introduce Santiago Pujol, but unfortunately he's not here today, so he can't stand up. He's over in Japan, standing up right now, but you can't see him. He's working as the academic director now in research computing. So he has a little bit bigger mission. I mean, HUBzero is part of Purdue's research computing, but he has a little bigger portfolio. So he's going to be the academic director for research computing. Some of you may recognize him. He's done work on NEAS.org, the earthquake engineering site, for years. He's an associate professor of civil engineering. He's also the PI of a project called Data Center Hub, which you'll be hearing more about too today. So he's been involved with HUBzero for years and has a really great vision for where to take the data management stuff. So I feel great about moving on to Google, knowing that these two guys are taking over for HUBzero and kind of taking it into a new future. Also, same great team. That hasn't really changed much. This is a picture from last year at Hubbub, and we've had a couple of changes since. A couple of people have left and a couple of new people. So there's a few new faces and a couple of changes, but pretty much the same folks, the same crazy folks as always. Little animated GIF. I love that. But anyway, so you'll be able to interact with them business as usual, I guess. So let's get started and kind of find out, how are we doing with HUBzero? Actually, it's been an incredible year and some really important things happening. For one thing, the few new projects. You guys may be familiar with this hub, the CDM hub, Composites Design and Manufacturing Hub. This started a couple of years ago under Byron Pipes at Purdue. And just recently, they got this huge award to work on manufacturing. This manufacturing initiative. They got $70 million from the Department of Energy and $189 million from industry and various state governments. So it's a $259 million project, and it kind of all started with this hub for composites design and manufacturing. It actually features HUBzero pretty prominently in this whole thing. I mean, it's not $259 million all for HUBzero, right? But there's a lot of people and a lot of research going on. But they are using HUBzero as one of their core technologies to make all of this work and to provide people with access to tools, CAD tools, industrial CAD tools, and research tools to do all of this research. They have one hub now, the CDM hub. They're creating another hub for the industrial folks, CVFHub.org, and they'll be building that soon. And they're actually working with a little startup company called IN3 Applications. I'm not sure if they're here today. Yeah, okay, terrific. So welcome and glad to see IN3 Applications and doing all this great work. So that's one big thing. There's another project that I just became aware of not too long ago. University of Illinois got together with the Mayo Clinic, and they've got an award from the National Institutes of Health out of the BD2K, Big Data to Knowledge program. It's a $9 million award, basically looking at large-scale genomic data. They call it KnowEng, or actually I think they pronounce it knowing. So you'll be hearing a little bit more later today from Saurabh Sinha. He's here. I'm glad to have him here. So he'll tell you the whole story. But I was real pleased to hear about this. It's nice to see big awards that at least involve HUBzero. And HUBzero is part of their overall effort to handle, again, the cyber infrastructure piece. Super happy to see it being used by projects like this. All right. There are more than 60 hubs running around the world. New hubs are coming online all the time. Some older hubs, when they kind of run out of money and funding, go away. But it continues to kind of grow and expand. As I search the internet using a search engine technology that I won't name, I could find more than 60. And I know there's actually more than that out there because there are some hubs that run behind firewalls and things that I can't actually access. But there's more than 60 hubs out there, and here are some of the latest numbers. You can see NanoHub still gets about 700,000 visitors, and that's every year. Every year, 700,000 people touch NanoHub, and of those, about 300,000 actually stick around and log in and use the tools and kind of use the site routinely. So it's a huge audience, and it's not just NanoHub. There's 450,000 visitors on Nice and 150,000 for their active audience. I mentioned this CDM hub, the Composites Design and Manufacturing Hub, that's really shot up. Also, Vidya from SUNY, and you'll be hearing more this afternoon from Jeanette. She has a talk to talk more about Vidya. They've really shot up in the ranks too. And MyGeoHub, you'll be hearing a little bit more from Carol Song. They've been doing a lot of work to integrate geospatial location tools into HUBzero, and you can find that on MyGeoHub. So a lot of hubs, numbers are going up and growing, and it's fantastic to see that. In fact, if you add it all up, what it means is that there are more than 2 million visitors to HUBzero every year. So when we fix a bug, when we add a feature, when we do something with HUBzero, we're basically touching the lives of 2 million people around the world, and it continues to grow. No pressure, guys. I know they're working back there in the back on all the bug fixes, and yeah, so keep it going. That's good. All right. So we have some big news. Today marks our latest release of the code, HUBzero 2.0. A long time in the making, you know, we started with kind of some 0.9 kind of releases and finally got to 1.0 and 1.1 and worked our way up to 1.3. But we're at 2.0 now because it's basically a brand new rewrite release of HUBzero. A lot of features in this new release. In fact, too many. I wish I could talk about them all. I can't. Because there are too many things that have been added. But some of the ones that are kind of in larger type, I want to call out and kind of go through and show you some of the latest things that have been happening. So brand new release. One of the most important things about this release is actually the underlying framework. You guys may have heard, may know that for a long time we've been using Joomla as a content management system. It's kind of a PHP framework for HUBzero. So it's been sort of our chassis, our building blocks for HUBzero, and we kind of built all the features of HUBzero on top of that. But over time, we kind of run into the limitations of Joomla and learned a lot about what we like and don't like about Joomla. And so for the past year or so, a little more, Sean and his team have been completely rewriting HUBzero. They basically eliminated Joomla at this point and rewritten a whole framework that's a lot more like steel and concrete instead of the rickety building blocks that we used to have. So there's a whole new CMS framework now, and when your friends ask you, like, what content management does HUBzero use, you tell them HUBzero. It uses HUBzero, because HUBzero is now a content management system of its own. It's not Drupal, it's not Joomla, it's its own thing. And I'm super excited about this because I think it's going to really change the way we do business. It's going to make things a whole lot easier to build and maintain. For one thing, if you've done any development with Joomla, you know there's code all over the place. So you try to create a component, there's some in the admin interface over there, there's some in another directory here, there's some modules and plugins. It's all spread out all over the place. And with the new framework, it's all together in one spot. So it makes things a whole lot easier to maintain because the code is all in one place. Also, there's a lot less code for each component. There are a lot more helper things in the framework that do things for you, and without really getting in your way, but just helping to shorten the amount of code that you need to write. So it makes it a lot easier to develop new components. There's a real model support for MVC. If you guys like doing model view controller, the MVC paradigm, there's a real support for models now in this framework. Sam Wilson's been working on the object relation model for a while, and it's really shaped up. So you don't have to use the hacky tables and everything that Joomla used to have. And there's a nice separation of the HUBzero code from everything else. We have a lot of hubs where people create their own custom components or kind of tweak the views or tweak this and tweak that. And we have it set up now. It's easy to separate the HUBzero core code from all the rest of the code. So if you make changes, it's not like you're breaking everything and you won't be able to upgrade. So really important things that we've learned over the years, and really important changes to change the framework. And of course, since they had to change the framework, they basically had to rewrite all of HUBzero to use the new framework. So the last year has been an entire rewrite of HUBzero, not only to have the new framework, but to use the new framework. So a tremendous amount of code got rewritten, probably almost every line. So a lot of work. In fact, I could probably end my talk there because that was enough work. But in the meantime, there are a few other things. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention too, if you're curious about this new framework, make sure you check out the web dev training this afternoon. We actually have a whole afternoon of training stuff, and if you like writing PHP code, they'll show you all about the new framework in gory detail. You can learn how to write new components in the framework. But in the meantime, I wanted to show you some of the other features that we've managed to sneak in to the latest release, or kind of weave in as the year went on. One thing I think is super important, you know, HUBzero has a mission to do research and education and online collaboration. And part of the research mission, we have a data curation pipeline that we built that lets you not only publish data, but actually work back and forth with data curators to get it right. So you start by working in a project area, you publish your data files, it walks you through a process where the first block asks you for title and abstract and next, and then the next block asks you for authors and next, and then it asks you for tags, and it asks you for your license and things like that. So there's a bunch of screens that you walk through, but at the end of that, instead of just publishing, ta-da, we actually go off to a set of curators. Now you can turn this off if you want, you can auto-approve, But there are various hubs that have curation teams that, to some level or another, look at these data publications. They may look just to make sure it's not spam and then approve it, or they may look in more detail to make sure that the things being published actually adhere to various data standards that communities have for various data types. So the curators can look at things, and if they don't like what they see, they can kick it back. And the authors can actually see what was flagged, what works, what was correct, what wasn't. They can make their changes and submit it again. And so you have this dance going back and forth between a team of data curators and the actual authors to get it right. They're not trying to do peer review. They're not trying to make sure that the science is good. They're just trying to make sure that things are well described, that things have units, that they're following conventions properly, and they're in good shape to be published. And I think this is a really important step forward, not only for HUBzero, but for science, to get this right. At the end of all of this, the curators can approve, and you end up with a published data set that gets a digital object identifier. And also HUBzero has all these other library protocols built in from the Open Archives Initiative and things like COIN and ORCID that you'll be hearing more about. So we not only publish data, but we publish it right with the right standards. And I think this is so important. I want to show you a video real quick. There are a lot of different frameworks out there that let you publish data, but I think this is so much a level beyond all of them. So here we are starting with the author. And if you wanted to publish some data, you could go to a hub like NanoHub. You can start a project area. A project is sort of like your own private space where you can work with collaborators. And you walk through this setup process and invite all your collaborators in. You get an area that's kind of like Dropbox. You can upload data. You can share your files with people on the research team. At this point, all the data is private and only is for you and your team to work on. And you have to be invited into the project. So here I've uploaded a bunch of different data files. We can work together now. When we're ready to publish, the thing that separates this from Dropbox is this publication process. You can say start a new publication, and it'll guide you through the process, providing a title and next, version number, because versions are important, right? We might publish more than one version of this data set. Quick synopsis, an abstract. Just like any other publication, we have an abstract with rich text formatting. We can provide some references for the data. And more importantly, we put up all of our data files. In this case, I'm publishing what's called a compact model that has some source code with it, and I can publish all my benchmark files that go along with that. So the system, knowing that I'm publishing a thing of type compact model, is kind of guiding me through the process of getting all the right files that I want to publish for that. Now, at the end of this, I click the button and submit my draft for review. And it shows me, ta-da, I've got something now under review. In fact, you can see, if you look, it's already got a digital object identifier parked, ready for this, and it's pending approval. Now, this is where the curators take over. Curators have a queue of all the publications that people have submitted, and they can take the latest publication and click the button to review it. So anyone on the team of the curators can go in and look at this, and they look at each element. Title looks good, version number looks good, synopsis looks good, abstract is fine, some references, love that. And they get to the part where the data files are. You can actually download the data sets and take a look at them in a little more detail. And in this case, I found some problems in the Verilog A code. It's not following the standards that you're supposed to use for publication. So we can flag that. We put a little no sign and some comments. We look at the benchmark files and the parameter set. There's no experimental data. That's a problem too, and I can flag that, saying that they really should have some data in this section. And so we can send that back, kick it back. So piece by piece, you can flag what's good and what's wrong, and then kick it back to the authors. And then they go on and review the next piece and so forth. Now, at this point, the authors get notified that they've been reviewed, so they can go into their project, and they see this on the wall of the project. They see a note that they've been reviewed and that there's some changes requested. So they can click the button, and it says make changes. That's the state they're in, so they need to go in. And everything is flagged. The things that are wrong are prominently flagged with the comments from the curator. So in this case, it's saying I need to fix my model. So I can go in and work on my model, upload a new version of the model. So I've changed my model now. According to the feedback, you can see in the history there's two models. There's the original, there's the latest version where I fixed everything. So now I go back to my Publications tab to make changes, and Curator wants me to do a new version of the model, so I can delete that and add the latest version with all the changes. So I fixed my model, and then I click Next, and that looks good. There was nothing wrong with my circuit benchmark files, nothing wrong with the parameter sets. Here's the comment that says I need to have some experimental data. So all right, I'll include the data that we took from some of the experiments that we found in the literature, and I'll upload that, and so forth. So you can see this fine-grained approach to flagging what's wrong and what's right in your publication. You can even put some comments back if you say, you know, hey, I don't agree with you about that. You can send the comments back to the curation team. At that point, they take a look at your changes. They can approve if everything looks good. And then when you go to compact models, now we have an approved publication that anybody can access with the digital object identifier. So that's the way the data publication process works in HUBzero. And I think it's pretty incredible. It's kind of head and shoulders beyond other things that I've seen out there. It's so incredible, it's rumbling practically off the screen. It's incredible. Oh, thunder and lightning. One other important feature, you know, again, we're supporting the academic mission, and something that's really important to academics is their CV, their curriculum vitae. So we found that people wanted to be able to represent their publications and talks and all their scholarly works. They wanted to be able to put it on their personal profile so they can show what they've done and kind of brag about it. But also, there are a lot of people that use HUBzero for research groups. So it's not just me, it's the research group that I'm in. And the research group itself has an identity and credibility. So people use HUBzero and create a group for their research group. And we have a way now of taking all of the CV information from various people in the research group and putting it all together into one composite CV for the research group. So now a research group can brag not only about their individuals, but collectively their identity as this research group. And you can browse the CV that's basically made up of everyone's CV related to that research project. And there's controls built in where you can upload your own, submit your own citations to your own profile or import a list of citations and all of that. So tracking all of the citations and output from these research groups is an important step forward. And it makes it a lot easier in terms of people that are trying to do reporting at the end of the year back to their funding agencies and things like that. So another really important feature. And third, we add a whole framework for handling payments inside of HUBzero. Now, you know, we're academics, we don't like to talk about money, but at the same time, all of these projects need to be sustainable. And so all of these hubs are trying to figure out ways that they could maybe charge their users for something and get a little bit of money back to maybe help sustain the project. So a lot of hubs are embracing this freemium model. On NanoHub, it's free to use NanoHub. You just browse around, you can sign up for an account if you want one. And if you want, you can actually pay for the pro membership. If you pay $75 a year, you get a bunch of professional kind of features. You get more disk space, you get more access to compute power, they give you a bunch of points so you can get a t-shirt out of the store, they give you discounts on NanoHub events. So for $75 a year, for people that want to just support NanoHub and love how the site works, or maybe get a little bit more disk space to do their research, it's an easy way for them to just whip out their credit card and put it in and get a pro membership. And believe it or not, we've had people put in support tickets saying, please, is there any way I can get a little bit more CPU power? I've got a paper due on Friday, and I got to do a whole bunch of simulations, and it's not going to finish, and you know, I need this. So now there's an easy answer. The answer is, yeah, you just whip out your credit card, pay for your pro membership, and you get your service upgraded. So for NanoHub, that's an interesting story of sustainability. For HUBzero, it means that the framework is there now, that all these hubs can now take advantage of this kind of thing. So, we have a framework built in that knows how to process credit cards using Purdue's TouchNet system, but it's a plug-in architecture, so we can create other plugins for PayPal and different things. We haven't done all of that yet because Purdue won't use PayPal. It'll only use TouchNet. But other people out there may want to take this basic framework and add some plugins that allow them to work with different payment vendors. And we have a whole way of not only processing, you know, a catalog of things that you can buy and then letting people buy them, but once they're purchased, actually making changes in the system. We have a whole new quota management system now in HUBzero that lets people get quota upgraded. So when you become a pro member, you get upgraded quota class. And same thing for CPU. So there's a whole framework under the hood that makes this all possible. And I hope all the hubs, particularly at Purdue, we have a business process in place. So if we're hosting your hub for Purdue University, we have a whole business process for handling money now. And other people out there in the open source community that are using this themselves, at least you have a framework and you can work out the business processes at your own institution to kind of support this. So, interesting. So I mentioned, wow, many more features. I wish I could actually talk about all these things because there's a bunch of important things. There's a new plugin for ORCID authentication, and we've upgraded OAuth to OAuth 2. Email digest for groups, people have been asking for that for a long time. Yay, yeah. So a lot of anti-spam defenses. Of course, we get a lot of spam. The most popular hubs get a lot of spam, so we've been building up a lot of anti-spam defenses. So there are a lot of great things in 2.0, and it's incredible to me, unbelievable, that Sean and his team added all of that while basically rewriting the entire framework and package. It's really something amazing. All right, so you'll hear all about that in the web training this afternoon, how it all works, and you'll be able to see too. One other thing I want to mention in terms of making it easier for people to run HUBzero, we've been doing a lot of work with Amazon. Last year we had a beta image for a virtual machine image for sort of the basic web server part of HUBzero. Again, this is a thunderously good feature. It's rumbling off the screen. The web server, we put up an image called the Essential Edition in the Amazon Marketplace. The Essential Edition is sort of the core of HUBzero, the web server parts, so you can create groups and profiles and publish resources and projects and things like that, right? The web server part of it. So we've had that running for a while now. Basically, it's available in the Marketplace. You just find it, search HUBzero in the Marketplace, push a button, start up an instance of that. It costs 3 cents an hour plus whatever Amazon charges depending on what instance you run it on. So it's very inexpensive for somebody to run a site like this for a year. It's what, $250 or maybe $500, something like that, depending on what instance size you use. So really inexpensive. But this year, we've added a lot. Dave Benham's been doing a lot of work. First of all, he created another image of HUBzero that supports the tool execution part. So we have this tool execution host. You know that HUBzero is more than just a website. It actually lets you host simulation and modeling tools on the site that are Linux-based and run them. And in order to do that, you need one of these tool execution servers. And in fact, you might need more than one, so we can scale that. We also are working right now on an instance of a rendering server that does all the scientific visualization. So with these 3 images, you can put together whatever kind of hub size and configuration you need. Dave's been working on a load balancer, and he's got it working now, I think, for the tool sessions, so that when you start up your hub, if people start using the simulation and modeling tools, you can add another tool execution host and another automatically using the load balancer. And as demand dies down, maybe the homework assignment is all done and everybody turns it in and they stop using the hub, then all those instances kind of go away. So we have this kind of embracing Amazon's model for elastic computing. We have a way of managing these tool execution hosts now elastically. And we're working on doing the same thing for the rendering servers, again, kind of working on that image and getting that ready to go. That's still a little bit of a work in progress. But if you wanted today to start everything and try it, you can actually fire up the web server and a set of tool execution hosts and kind of mess with the load balancing. Amazon has a great way of doing this you can use a CloudFormation template. So for one little script, fire that off, and Amazon will set up the whole hub for you using these multiple instances and orchestrating all of that. And if you're interested in beta testing it, you can talk with Dave Benham on our team. He's been doing all the work on Amazon to get this ready, and he's interested in having people kind of beta test and try out the infrastructure. It's a little bit in beta right now, but worth testing to help him shake out some bugs. Also, we have the folks from Amazon here. Steve Elliott's here, and you'll be hearing from him in a little bit. He's got a talk. He'll tell you all about Amazon Web Services and a little bit about what we've been doing with HUBzero. And they have a whole tutorial session this afternoon, too. So on the program, you can take the Amazon tutorial. They'll teach you how to get set up with Amazon and get you set up with credentials, have you firing up virtual machines, and then at the end, I think there's an exercise where you can actually start up HUBzero and get it up and running on Amazon. So super happy to have them with us today and teaching everyone how to do this. I want to take a minute to thank our sponsors. A lot of you, I guess, are our sponsors. This whole event, the Hubbub, is only possible because we have this HUBzero Foundation. And the HUBzero Foundation is really made up of all these different institutions that have kind of bought in to help out HUBzero. So it actually grown a lot from last year and continues to grow. We've got a few new possibilities that are signing up now. So thanks to all of you for supporting this great endeavor, and we wouldn't be able to have Hubbub without it. So glad to have you guys helping out. And it's a great way, too, for people to get support. It only costs $5,000 to join, so it's not a lot of money. And along with that, you're not only helping HUBzero, but you get 20 hours of tech support. So a lot of groups that are trying to use HUBzero, they don't even care whether they're helping HUBzero or not. They need their tech support. So this is a great way for them to just kind of buy in and get some help when they get stuck. And we made it super easy. Once you join and you get your 20 hours of tech support, you can go to HUBzero.org, and we've got a chat thing built in. So you can just go down to the chat client, open up a window, and start asking questions. We have people manning the chat during normal business hours, kind of on Indiana time. And you can just chat with them. It might be a simple 5-minute question. That's fine. It might be something where you're trying to set up training for the rest of your team, or you maybe need some web development, or you may want a new component. You want to spend maybe 10 of your hours to do some component development or something like that. So there are all kinds of different shapes and sizes for the requests, from simple 5-minute things to things that take some development time. But it's a great way, again, for people that just need a little bit of help with HUBzero to actually get that help and keep on top of it. And if you burn through 20 hours, no problem. We'll make more. It's like potato chips or something, right? No problem. Eat all you want. We'll make more. You can buy another support pack for $4,500, and your third support pack is $4,000. So it kind of goes cheaper. It gets cheaper as you go, as you buy more and more support, because the idea is not so much to make money. It's just to be able to afford Hubbub and help you guys out using HUBzero. So this is a great way for people to find that little bit of extra help. And then the money helps us do Hubbub and HUBhero Challenge events. It kind of feeds back into the community too, which is great. So if you're interested in starting up, check out the HUBzero.org About Foundation link. Go there and find out all the information and sign up because it's really a great deal. I mentioned the HUBhero Challenge. So that's our name kind of for our hackathon event that we run usually once or a couple times a year. So the idea is that we have these events where people come, they learn about HUBzero, how to program the web or how to create simulation and modeling tools. And then if they've attended, or even better, if they've actually contributed some code back to HUBzero, then they get on the wall of heroes. We have 17 heroes now listed on the wall. If you go to HUBzero.org/HUBhero, you can see all the people that have participated and contributed and what they've contributed and things like that. In fact, we have another challenge coming up. So I think we still have a couple of slots available. If you're interested, if this is the first you're hearing about it and you're thinking, ooh, I want to do that, on Wednesday today, or this week, on Wednesday, we have a HUBhero Challenge event. So if you take the training this afternoon and on Tuesday and you're all set up and you want to try it out, you can get together on Wednesday with the rest of the team. You can start hacking on some component, a little feature or something you've always wanted in HUBzero. Start kind of hacking on that yourself. You can ask questions, because as people, you're actually writing code, things start to come to mind that you really want to ask about. So we have the HUBzero team there to answer questions and help you through it. And then at the end of the day, if you stand up and show off what you've accomplished, it doesn't even have to be perfect or finished, but you stand up and kind of say, this is what I've been working on today. That puts you in a drawing, so you can actually win a Bluetooth, HUBzero branded Bluetooth speaker in the drawing if you participate. So fun, prizes, a little bit of code comes out, it's all good. If you haven't signed up, think about it. There's plenty of things to do, and it's just fun to hang out and ask questions from the HUBzero team. And I think we have slots left. So if you're interested, ask out at the registration desk, and they'll tell you exactly what to do to get signed up. Or I think you can look on the website too, on the Hubbub website. It probably has instructions for signing up too. All right. Well, that brings us to our agenda for the day. So I'll quickly just mention We have some great talks this morning in the plenary session. We also have these 3 training tracks. The HUBzero Applications and Experiences is a track where lots of people from the community have contributed their talks and abstracts, so you can hear what other people are doing with HUBzero and what they've been developing. We have a whole section on web training. We have a section on Amazon, so if you want to learn how to set up a hub on Amazon. So you can divide the afternoon into whatever track catches your interest. We have a banquet dinner tonight. Starts about 6 o'clock with some drinks, and then into dinner, and we have a game show. So if you spend the rest of the day brushing up on your HUBzero trivia, then you might actually win some fame or prizes or something at the game show tonight, the Funding Feud. So check it out. That's usually a lot of fun. And tomorrow, plenary session again in the morning, a lot of invited talks. We'll have some roadmap discussion before lunch, so if you want to find out where HUBzero is going, or if you want to tell us where you think HUBzero should go, that would be great. And again, tomorrow, 3 different tracks, continuing HUBzero applications and experiences. You can hear some of the talks. Also, continuing the web development training. And for those that are interested in building simulation and modeling tools, we have a track on that tomorrow. The tool dev training is tomorrow. And then, of course, Wednesday, I mentioned our HUBzero challenge, where you can sign up and hack some code and win a Bluetooth speaker, maybe, in the drawing. All right, so that's the story of HUBzero. I don't want to take too much time, so we'll defer questions. I'll invite up our first speaker, Amy Walton from the National Science Foundation. And I'll get her talk up.